I snapped, Laura. I just thought, I can't take this anymore. And I grabbed him by the shirt and I just was losing control. And my daughter walks in and she said, what the heck is going on here? As he moves by, he gives me a shove. I'm showing my daughter a version of love that's just so ugly and hurtful. I just couldn't even recognize, my beautiful husband standing in front of me anymore. Like, who is he? Where did the kind, loving person that I married go? And in that moment, I just felt so unsafe with him. And at the same time that I felt unsafe with him, I was just so angry.
Real women, real marriage turnarounds. This is the Empowered Wife Podcast. My guest, Renee, was tired of the never-ending arguing and the unforgivable name-calling from her husband. In desperation, she tried the intimacy skills and got immediate results. Today, she has a peaceful home, and she and her husband are excited to grow old together. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Renee, welcome to the Empowered Wife Podcast. I'm so excited. You're welcome. Can't wait to hear your whole story. So, it's a big thing. It's a big deal. You're here telling your whole story. So, but take us all the way back to the very beginning. How did you meet your husband and what drew you to him? And how did you know he was the one?
Oh my gosh. It's a cool story because I swore that I'd never meet a guy out at a nightclub or out dancing with friends. And there he was. We met each other and we spent a whole night talking and dancing. And I just thought he was the coolest guy. And at the end of the night, he wanted to steal a kiss from me. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But, I'll be back here next weekend. And he said, I'll be back here too. And we made a plan to meet each other again the following weekend. And I got busy. I was with friends. He got busy. He was with his friends. We didn't go back. And for 3 months, I thought about this guy, and amongst my friends and to my sister, I was like, oh yeah, he's like my dream guy, And so 3 months, we never seen each other. And 3 months later, I was at that nightclub and I walked in and my friends are like, isn't that your dream guy? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so scared. I ran into the bathroom, made sure I was looking nice and came back out, and I walked past him and he said, Renee, hi. And I was like, oh my gosh, he remembers my name. And so we spent the whole night just talking and chatting and dancing, and our individual friend circles just didn't exist that night. And the next morning, because there was no mobile phones back then, he rang me at 9 a.m. and said, will you come and have lunch with me? And so we went to a local restaurant and we spent 5 or 6 hours just sitting there. And I knew this guy is the one. Yeah. And that's the story.
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah. So the only agonizing was during those 3 months when you didn't see him for a while. But after that, you're like, this is the one. So, and was there a moment that made you think that? Was there something he said or did that had you go, okay, yeah, this is the guy?
It was just effortless. It was an effortless conversation, and the friendship was almost immediate. He was kind of raised in the city. I was raised in the country, but yet it was just effortless. That would be the best way to describe the flow between us and the laughing. And we loved so many things. Like, even though we were so far apart from each other, we both loved water skiing and going out on boats. And we just, he did his on the ocean, I did mine on like lakes and dams. And so we just had so much in common, and our friendship blossomed really quickly. And yeah, that was it. And we were only 18 and 19 when we met. So we were young.
Little babies.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, it sounds so romantic, and it just sounds like, he was a great conversationalist and became your best friend. And like one day, 24 hours. So yeah.
I love it.
So, all right. So you start dating and then you got married at some point.
I mean, we had a beautiful courtship. We weren't in any hurry. On my 21st birthday, he asked me to marry him. It was like very, very romantic, you know, a limousine pulling up at the house and a beautiful French restaurant, a dozen red roses when I walked in on the table, a beautiful uh, birthday cake with a French chef came out and sang happy birthday. And yeah, and he got down on one knee and proposed. And then, you know, a year later we were married, and it was just this beautiful transition from dating to getting married. You know, I knew from the beginning that we were a passionate couple. We're both very adventurous, and we are both individually are little powerhouses. So together we were like a double bang. But then I could see also that if we disagreed about something, we we could disagree quite passionately as well. But in the early days, it was never hurtful, that we didn't want to hurt each other. I never wanted to hurt him, and I could feel that he didn't want to hurt me. Um, yeah, that it was definitely like that in the beginning. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And an early marriage was probably similar, right? Never wanting to hurt each other.
Never wanting to hurt each other. We had our first child at, 23, 24, and it, I didn't really notice anything until I was a mother, until I was responsible for this other human being. And if in reflection, because hindsight's always amazing, I can look back and see how when I became pregnant, I took that very seriously. I took my nutrition seriously. I stopped drinking. I really cared about what I put in my body. I really cared about sleeping well, all of those things that women tend to think about when they're pregnant. Um, I knew that I was no longer responsible just for myself. So I think my control that was always there, my need to control, really flared up and was, I have to micromanage everything now.
Mm. And is there a moment when you realized, I mean, it sounds like you having to micromanage everything. It sounds like you were very thoughtful about your own, making sure that this baby was going to have the best possible chance at good health and a good life. And was there a moment when you thought, like, he's not doing everything that he should be doing for our baby?
Yeah. Not so much for the baby. I just was bossy. I was just so bossy of, we need to do this and we have to do that. And if I can get you to put this over here, then I'll take care of this. And I, we at the same time, kind of simultaneously, we began our own company together. And so I was doing the books for that as well. And as more children came along, we ended up having 4 children. The responsibility just grew. At the same time, our business was growing. You know, we went from we're in the building and construction industry. So we went from just concreting, then we went from concreting to owning concrete pumps. Then we went from 1 pump. Now we have 8 pumps. So it's like the pressure just simultaneously grew as our children were growing, and we homeschooled them, and it was just this never ending pressure. Mm.
It sounds like a lot. It sounds like you're very successful.
Mm.
You're very successful in business
Mm.
and as a family, and there was a lot of pressure. Was there a moment when you thought, like, boy, we're just like not on the same page or something, or how did it? What happened?
Well, the fighting just seemed to intensify. And I noticed even when we had, say, 2 to 3 children, we still essentially had a lifestyle of going and having backyard barbecues, maybe things like that. And because I was breastfeeding, I wasn't drinking. I would want the time of the evening would come where I would be thinking about I've to get up in a few hours and feed this baby. I would like to get the children home, and my husband would want to stay at the gathering. And he, he had the never ending glass that would just magically refill itself. I would say, honey, can we please go home after your next drink? And I thought I was being very polite and very considerate that, he's in the middle of drinking a glass, a bottle, whatever. And so I would just respectfully say, could you please finish that one? And would we be able to go home? And he'd say, yeah, no worries. And then it would be full again. And then it would be full again. And then in the end, I'd just say, you need to get in the car. We're going home. So I would just put my foot down. I didn't even think of the option of, well, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to take the children and go home. Because before this, we'd been a team. We'd done everything together. So I felt betrayed that in the parenting, in those moments, not all the time, but in those moments, I was like, where's my teammate? Like, we're in this together. I might be the one getting up, but it sucks for me. So I just felt like he hadn't grown up and I was growing up, but I felt like he was still back where we were when we first met, and the next day, if I look back now, I can see I would make him pay, it would be 10 a.m. and he'd be hungover or still in bed, and I would open up the crack of the door and the kids would say, where's Dad? And I'd say, I don't know. Why don't you go and have a look? And I knew where he was. I knew that he was in bed sleeping. And it's so covert when I look at it, but I was resentful and I was mad at him because I was doing it all by myself on those days. And I wanted a day off. The weekends were my time to also relieve a bit of pressure. And I didn't know how to ask for that. So I never got it.
Oh,
Mm.
it sounds lonely and stressful and, and hurtful. I can see why you were angry. You did need some sleep. You did have a lot to do. And who can blame you for being upset about that? So what was his response though? Like what would he say to defend himself about why he didn't, do what he agreed to do and just finish that glass and take you home?
Yeah, I don't think I would communicate that cleanly when we talk the next day. I think I would just be mad at him. So I just would let him know, in a really like masculine way, like, it's not cool that you did that. And like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? So I would probably chastise him like a mother would, maybe chastise a child. And he was always apologetic. He would always feel bad. I could see that he felt bad, but it would just keep happening, those kind of things. In the early days, after our fourth come along, he really had grown up a lot then. And we didn't have that problem anymore in terms of him, leaving me stranded. He knew we had more kids than we had hands, and we needed to get them to where they needed to go. And Steve, my husband's always, when I've asked him, he's always been there to help. And I think the biggest problem is being in the way I have asked,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was helping, it sounds like, by the time you had your fourth child.
Yeah.
He was okay. And so, but there were still some arguments, it sounds like.
Our arguments increased and increased and increased in intensity over the years. I think I was stockpiling a filing cabinet full of resentment. If you imagine, one of those metal filing cabinets and it's got a label on the front which says Renee's resentment, and then I could pull it open and they're all sitting in there perfectly neat. It's like I kept evidence on every thing, every moment that I didn't felt that I was treated right, or I didn't feel that I felt that he could have done a better job with something, or I just was so hypercritical, and that filing cabinet was full. And so every time something little would happen, it's like I would get a flare up in my system, and I would get triggered, and I would default back to those moments of what, so we became in this dance. This dance just happened between us. I was critical of something. My husband would have to defend himself because I was articulating it very poorly. And then we were in it. Once he's defending, then we're in it. I'm defending, he's defending. We're just both wearing this armor trying to protect ourselves. And I would be quite passive in the beginning because I'm not a passive woman. I'm actually a really fiery woman. And I knew deep down inside me, if I reacted the way I wanted to react, the way that my insides were screaming to react, I knew if I did that on the outside, that I would be in a fully blown domestically violent relationship. I knew that. I could feel that. And I was doing everything within my power to control the situations. And I'd pull back. I would flare things and I'd have my say, right or wrong. I was going to have my say. And then I also knew the exact moment that I would have to pull back so that we wouldn't go to that next level.
So you were just keeping that fury on a tight leash.
Absolutely.
You knew that it could explode.
Yeah. And the word fury is such an apt word to describe what was actually happening on the insides for me. I did not grow up in a home with name calling, and my husband did. Yeah. So he would name call all the words, all the names. And in the beginning, it was very easy to forgive. I would say, oh, that's okay. That really hurt me. I'd let him know that really hurt, but I'm okay. But then it became, in that dance for my husband, it became the quick go-to. The very littlest thing, that would be his go-to. I'm going to whip out that name calling. Because he knew, he said this to me, and he knew that it would hurt, and hurt people hurt people.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you guys are pretty regularly having these arguments with this name calling. And then did you name call him back?
I did not name call him back in the early days. I just would I would go, if I look back, well, I'm very honest with myself now. And if I look back, I would, at that point where the name calling would come in and it would become very incessant, like really like over the top, just almost barreling over the top, just one word would come, another word would come. And it was almost a cue for me to go into victim. It's like the tears would come, I can't believe that you're calling me that. It was a specific role that I played when that would come in. And but as I become older, especially around that sort of 49th year, I'd had enough. There was just no more that I could stand. So I did notice that I was becoming less resistant to calling him names. I would fire something back at him. But the problem is that would flare him up even worse. There was no off switch. I was the off switch. At any moment for this to go next level, I was the off switch. And I knew that. I knew that in every part of my being that I was the off switch. And my switch wasn't switching off, Laura. So I was getting panicked.
Wow. This is amazing accountability. And I just love this insight that you give us. And you describe kind of going into a victim mode where you are crying and saying, I can't believe you would say that to me. And even as you're saying it now, like I feel myself emotionally like not responding to it. I'm like, yeah, that's manipulation. That's what you're saying you were doing. But at the same time, you're very hurt. You're very angry. And you
Yeah.
want him to, you want him to stop or apologize, be accountable.
Yeah.
But you also realize like the only way this is ever going to de-escalate is if I keep self-control.
Yes. Yes. And I have a story of the moment where, well, it was the story that broke, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the story. So
Tell me.
I can, yeah. So, it was about 5:15 in the morning. And it was another morning and another useless argument. And it wasn't really about the issue that was at hand anymore, but it was about who was right and who was wrong. And no matter how hard I try to make a point, it just keeps escalating, and his voice gets louder and mine gets louder. And we're both just so frustrated. It's like we're both trying to be heard, but neither of us is even listening to each other. And I'm so tired. I'm tired of feeling disrespected. And I'm just reflecting, we've been together for decades, and we've both done individually so much work on ourselves. And we've spent years in therapy, attending workshops and growing, but somehow we still ended up here in this place, which is so far from where we used to be when we first met. And I just remember feeling so frustrated. And I'm just standing there in front of him, just begging to be seen. I just want him to show me that I matter. But instead of hearing me, I just hear more insults, more verbal abuse. And his words they're just coming out of his mouth, and they're so sharp towards me and personal. And they just cut me so deep. And on this particular day, it was deeper than they ever have before. And it's like he knew exactly where to strike. And it hurt. I felt like he had over 30 years of data on me, and I just couldn't even recognize, my beautiful husband standing in front of me anymore. Like, who is he? Where did the kind, loving person that I married go? And in that moment, I just felt so unsafe with him. And at the same time that I felt unsafe with him, I was just so angry. My mind was racing. I was listening to his words, and I was thinking, can he even really mean what he's saying? And I feel so desperate. And he walks away towards the bathroom, and he's muttering more hurtful words. And then I snapped, Laura. I just thought, I can't take this anymore. So I just slammed the bathroom door open, and I spun him around, and I grabbed him by the shirt, and I just was losing control, and my anger was just taking over me, and I'm grabbing onto his shirt, and I just was saying to him, how dare you talk to me like that? And I'm saying to him, who do you think you are? I'm so sick and tired of being treated in this way. And he was trying to release my hands, and he's saying, let go of me. But I was not listening to him. My hands were gripping onto his shirt like I was holding on for dear life. And the words they're just pouring out of me, every hurt, every put down. And I don't even stop in that moment to think about how I'm contributing to the chaos. I I don't stop to think that I'm making it worse. All I can focus on is how angry I am and how badly I want him to understand how much he has hurt me. That's all I could think about. And so he keeps trying to pry my hands away and he's saying, let go. That's all he kept saying to me was let go. And he's trying to open my hands, but something inside of me was saying, don't let go. And so I didn't. I clung onto his shirt like it was my lifeline. And it's like, if I can't let go of this pain that's inside of me from all of these years, and I need to make him see and feel the hurt that I'm feeling. And then in that moment, my daughter walks in and she is rubbing her eyes. She's still half asleep. She's older. She's like, 14 and a half. And she just looked at us both and she said, what the heck is going on here? And the words just, they hit me like a ton of bricks because we'd woken her up and here she was just watching us fall apart. And we both just let go instantly. But the damage had already been done. I realized what was happening. We're not just fighting in front of her. I'm showing my daughter a version of love that's just so ugly and hurtful. And I don't want my daughter to have to see that, So my husband leaves the bathroom. He's angry. And as he moves by, he gives me a shove, that's very uncommon, but he's angry. So he's sort of shoving me out of the road. And it wasn't that it was a hard shove, but it caught me off guard. And in that moment, I catch myself by putting my hand on the shower door behind us, but the shower door moves. So I jam my hand in between the two panes of glass and the pain was instant and I screamed. And my husband, of course, rushed over to help me, but the door just jammed even tighter and I pulled my hand out and I just was so embarrassed. I felt frustrated with myself. I just made everything worse in that moment. And now, I'm sitting here in this mess, but it just hit me that it was my mess. And my daughter, she went back to her bed. And my husband and I, we just retreat to the corners of our arena, our arguing arena. And I was shaking as I, put a Band-Aid on my finger and ice on my hand. And the truth is, the situation just slammed me in the face. I was embarrassed and was ashamed of my actions. I knew I'd gone too far and there was no way I could take it back. I had to face the truth about me and how I let things get this bad. So I made a decision to talk to my daughter and I walked to her room and I sit down beside her and I just looked her in the eyes and I say, I'm sorry for what you just saw now. That was my fault, not Dad's. I chose to let my anger take over and I didn't have to act that way. And even though his words hurt, it was still my choice to let his words affect me in that way. And I should have walked away. I should have calmed down, but I didn't. And I'm really sorry. Because ultimately, I didn't want her to think that her dad's the bad guy because he's not. We've both made mistakes. And I needed her to see when things go wrong that I could show her how to take responsibility for my own actions. Yeah.
Wow. Tremendous. It's such an extraordinary reaction, Renee. What a powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing it so vulnerably. I really get how painful it was and how The loss of dignity that you felt, how horrible it felt to have that happen and for your daughter to witness it. But I just think it's extraordinary that you would apologize to her and take full responsibility for it and not throw your husband under the bus in any way, even though, I mean, you could have very easily said, he was calling me these terrible names. He started it. It's, could have gotten yourself, I don't know, some cover. I think it's only human, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't explain that moment other than I'd been searching for the truth. And I think in that moment, I was transported to this such a lack of control. It's like to be in that moment where I had no control in that moment. I was so outside of myself. And I liken that feeling of not being in control to when I was sexually abused as a child, to I was raped in my adolescence. It's there with that peak experience of what, I have no control here. And it's like I was just shown the truth. You have a part to play here. And, and my finger was in a splint for like 16 weeks after that. I had literally really damaged my finger. And it was so, even when the physical pain was gone and I was in rehabilitation, the emotional pain of looking at that finger every day and knowing it was very poignant for me to have to look at that and go, well, that's on you. You took it there.
Wow. That is, so no part of you said, I think it's his fault. He shoved me. He lost control.
The truth is, no. In reflection, I just saw myself. I was so, it was a defining moment in terms of, for the next 24 to 48 hours, I was like, I can't actually do this anymore. I cannot be married anymore. I cannot stay in this relationship. I feel this is now, because I didn't know that I could heal beyond this. I didn't know that I could learn how to, the skills have regulated me. Now, I didn't know I could have that. I had done so many workshops, gone to therapy. I had done the things. And so it was very painful to be in a situation where we're still bickering and I'm like, what the actual heck? I know these things, how can we still be doing this dance? What the heck? But the problem is we're still doing that dance because my finger is still pointed out towards him. I'm still blaming him. That was the thing. It's still your fault. You should be treating me this way. You should be making me happy. You. I never was looking inside myself for the answers. I mean, I've got a million excuses from my childhood, and you know what? That's my trophy. I can keep that and I can put that on that shelf. And anytime I want to feel sorry for myself, I can pull that trophy off and I can hug it tight and go, yeah, I'm a victim. I can hold that. This all happened to me. Everything is bad. I can, but I don't want to. It stays firmly up on that shelf. It's not ever coming down again because there's no power there. It's nothing but powerlessness. when I use that as a tool to define my life, it only gives me no power.
Wow. I mean, I love it. And I relate to this so much, like just kind of defaulting to this victim mode and having my little collection of ways that I was hurt and wronged and mistreated, and finding it just not as comforting as I thought it would be, not as not as rewarding. and and then finally deciding, finally realizing, oh, it's me. It's me that's contributing to this situation the way it is. But it's just incredible to hear that moment was when you got there. And I especially am interested in this incredible metaphor of you saying, I was raped as a teenager, and this feeling where I lost control of my emotions is equivalent to feeling powerless. The powerlessness was similar to being raped. That is the level of horror, is I guess what I'm taking from that.
In that moment for me to be, and this may not be any other woman's experience, but I can only speak truth into my own experience. And for me in that moment, the emotional feeling of having no power is equivalent, yes, to moments in my life where I had no power. This is the reason that I felt such a need to be controlling, and particularly when my children came along, their safety was everything to me. It's like I went into hypervigilance mode of everything has to be perfect, because then they'll be safe. And if they're safe, then I'm safe. And if I'm safe, then nothing bad can happen. You know, I never wanted anything bad to happen to me again. Yet here I am living these recurring, repetitive arguments with my husband that continuously flared me into this trauma loop. Continuously, every single time. My heart was never at peace. I was always pulling on him and needing him to help me to feel this level of safety. Why is this happening? You know, always feeling rejected, this, you know, rejection wound, just constantly, the script just kept getting flipped over and over and over, because I did not have the skills to regulate myself. I did not have the skills to give myself power. I didn't have them. So I was just scrambling at my best. That's all I could do, was just my best. And it wasn't cutting it. It led me to that point where I was like, I'm done. If I walk away, at least I will have peace. It wasn't that I didn't love my husband. Even in those arguments, I'm looking at a man that I absolutely adore. And I knew because he'd told me and he'd shared with me that this is something that gets triggered in him, and he feels that he has to protect himself. So I knew the way that he was hurting me was also a script for him. So I knew enough to know that. So I loved him so much. It's just the pain of the arguments that I did not want to go through anymore. So it wasn't that I didn't love him and I wanted to leave him. It's that I wanted to leave to have peace in my soul, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So even though you were so accountable that this was your own doing when you spoke to your daughter, there was part of you that thought the peace would come from not being in his presence.
Yes. I thought we won't flare each other up. I won't flare him. I wasn't even looking at why was I flaring him. It's just we won't flare each other up. You know,
Like
he won't.
it's a given, like this is just what is, like oil and water just will never mix. That kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I made this story up that, oh, we love passionately, but we fight passionately. This was the story, you know, it's like, look at us go. We kick so many goals and we have huge adventures on the weekend. And, you know, but the older I got, the less I could take it. My heart just couldn't take it. I just would feel the pain of those arguments more deeply. It would take me longer to recover from them. I was tired and I just didn't want to do it anymore. It just was done. I hit 50 and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to, I knew that we could be great mates. That's where I landed.
So did you, and you were thinking, I'm done. Did you communicate this to your husband? Did you make any announcement?
In the cleanup of the few days after, we try to clean up as we go along, and obviously I'm still was unskilled at that stage. But there was such a peace about me that I was just like, I'm actually done. I don't want to fight anymore. And you know what? To be honest, he was feeling the same. He was like, I can't handle it anymore either. We just both, and he was like, I'm sure we can work it out. And I was like, I don't know. I'm done. And there was a well-known method of conflict resolution that we were using, and we had found a counselor that used that method, and it had helped us a lot with repairing conflict, like post-conflict. It never helped us not get into conflict, but it very much was useful post-conflict. So we were using those tools to hear each other and to see each other in the post-conflict, which worked well. But funnily enough, like I think it was in the third day after that, I was cleaning out. I was in a real cleaning mode, and I was looking on the bottom of my bookshelf, and I had The Empowered Wife sitting on the bookshelf, and it had come with a book bundle like 2 years earlier. And when I read The Empowered Wife, I don't know, but all I read was The Surrendered Wife. I did read The Surrendered Wife. I read The Powerless Wife. I read The Not Empowered Wife. I read anything but the word empowered. It just shows where I was in my growth as a human. I could only see that I would be relinquishing all of my power if I read that book. So on the bottom bookshelf it went. And I'm cleaning my shelf on this day. And when I turned the book over and I read the title, it wasn't the title that grabbed me. It was the image of the two people on the front and the lights, and they looked intimate. And I just burst out crying. I thought, that's what I want to feel. That I wanted to feel that. And I thought, oh, well, I'll open it up. So I opened it. An hour I sat on the floor and was just encapsulated with your words. And they stung. They stung. I was like, ow. Okay. And I was able to receive your words. I was in a completely cracked open, nothing left to lose space of mind. So I kept reading.
And it stung. It hurt.
It stung. It stung. Within the first 6 pages, I was like, oh no. Oh no. If it's like your hand was reaching through the pages and giving me a good slap inside the head. It's like,
I'm sorry about that, Renee. I didn't mean for it to hurt. But
I'm very grateful.
Mac,
I'm very grateful for you.
You already had a sprained finger. So what hurt about it? What was painful?
The truth.
Which was?
I was critical. I was I realized that I was so quick to say to my husband, "You're not doing this right. It should be done this way. And if you just do it this way." And I was, my husband would say to me, um, "You're so disrespectful." And I would say to him, "Are you kidding me? Disrespectful?" I would, it was such a shock to me that I was disrespectful. Somewhere in my marriage, I realized early on that we had different parenting styles, and I decided that my way was the better way. So I became critical and bossy. And as our family grew, I wanted certain things to change. And I no longer agreed with his lifestyle choices, like the drinking, for example. Even though I had the same lifestyle choices prior to having kids, that's who he fell in love with. I was a little party animal right alongside next to him. I was the girl of fun and light. We were a team. Remember, we were doing everything together as one unit. And I never said to him, "I'm changing the way I'm living." I just changed the way I was living. And I became controlling. I would clean up beer bottles around the house so that the kids didn't see them. I would tell him that he wasn't playing with the kids in the right way, or dressing them in the right clothes, or disciplining them in the gentle way that I would like them disciplined. I would hold relentless, and I mean relentless, State of the Unions about how things should be run in our home, like I was the general in an army. That's what it was like. Toe the
Right.
line or I will make you pay. And I won't make you pay in an outwardly aggressive way, like he might express himself to me, but I will do it in a very covert, subtle way. You'll get dirty looks. You will get a little bit of the cold shoulder. I might not come sit next to you on the couch at night time. I might, in a very covert way.
Yeah. So you saw all this about yourself and it hurt. And what did you decide what was your reaction to this new information?
Just keep reading. Just keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. So I read that book in a few days. And then in the book, it had made reference to certification, becoming a coach. And I just went straight there. I was like, I cannot afford to stuff around here. I thought, I cannot afford this. If I am going to give this a chance, I'm all in. I'm an all in kind of gal anyway. So I am like all in and will give this 200%. And so that's what I did.
It's unusual too. I don't think most people read the book and say, the first thing I did was enroll in coach certification after that, but that's how you responded. And so what was the conversation with your husband like around that? It's a substantial investment, right? So, or did
Yeah.
he know?
Well, look, we run a company together, and so we have our roles within our company. And I mean, I was considerate. I was like, hey, I'm looking at doing this training. And he's so gracious. He's just like, whatever you think. He's like, whatever you think. If you want to do that, you do that. He's never stopped me doing anything that I want to do, ever, ever. And that's something we've had for each other, is like, if he wants something, I'm there cheering him on. And this was no different. I just said, I want to do this training to learn how to take care of myself better. I think is how I framed it up. I certainly did not want him to know that I was learning how to become a better wife, because I did not at that stage want him to think that I was doing anything wrong. So I was not going to offer up that information.
Oh, no, no, no. That'd be handing your enemy the coordinates of your most big vulnerability. All right. So you would have that information. I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So,
I do remember, I do remember after a short period of time, maybe within a month, we'd had a disagreement about something. So it was early stages, but I was getting some traction, but it was still early stages. And he had said to me, I would like us to go back to this counselor. And that was the sort of first time the second time actually that I'd used an I can't, under the skill of vulnerability. And I, s- I said to him, I can't do that. And he said, what do you mean you can't? And I said, I can't go back to counseling. I'm on to something here and I need to stay committed to this path. I don't think it's going to serve me. And he said, so what I hear you saying is you don't give a care about our marriage. That's what I'm hearing you say. I'm hearing you say you don't give a, swear word, care about our marriage. I said, that's not what I'm saying. He was so angry with me about this. He slammed the door. He was mad. And it was one of my first experiences of remaining dignified. And I was able to do this because I was getting coaching. And, my coach, Coach Diane, she had said to me, we talked about being dignified, and I'd been really working on my vision of being a dignified woman. And I just calmly responded to him and said, I hear you. I hear you. He's like really laying the insults on me about why I won't go. And I just said, I hear you. And that's all I said. And I shut the door. And then he said to me, I need to talk to you. So he's calling the State of the Union. This was the flip that happened in our marriage for the last sort of, the first 12 months of doing the skills. My husband's holding all of these State of the Unions. I never called one, but he's just like, we need to talk. We need to talk. And he's like, I don't know what you are doing and who you're talking to on these Zooms that you are on. And I don't know what advice they're giving you, whether it's to leave me or he was scared. He was worried because I was not reacting the same way. I was not dancing in the same way. Remember, he steps left, I step right. He calls a name or gets angry, I get elevated, I escalate. And all of a sudden, I'm staying calm. I'm saying, I hear you. That sounds hard. And I'm not responding to him with that same angst inside my system. And that was a lot for him.
he's terrified. He's going to lose
Yeah.
his wife
Yeah.
because you weren't the same Renee that you had been for 30 years.
Yes. And I just reassured him in that moment. I said to him, I hear you. And I want you to know that Laura's number one mission is to end world divorce. These groups are literally to save marriages. And I know this is hard for you, but this is just where I am. I have to honor myself in this. And he's like, can you just tell me why you won't go? And I said, I don't see the point in sitting with a counselor, a psychologist, and complaining about you for 30 to 40 minutes straight. That's not where the answers are for me anymore. The answers are, what am I doing? How am I showing up? How am I showing up in every given moment in our interactions? That's where my interest is now, on my own paper. And after that, he just took his hands off and said, "You do you. I get it now." So
he was reassured.
he was reassured.
Wow. And what a powerful moment. I always think of, I use the word smug. Like, did you feel smug in a way? Like, or proud, at least proud, right? That you got this big bait from him to come into that old dance and you didn't do it. And you, not only that, and you were so intentional, you knew you were doing this to honor yourself and to keep your dignity, and to fix your marriage.
Yeah, and I didn't, and ironically, and I found this the whole way through coach certification, is that obviously every module is themed, and that happened, that whole big thing happened. You know, he's following me home from our walk. I've declined to go to counseling. He's angry, he's yelling. We get back home, the door slams. It's all very dramatic. You know, that's our life, which is full of these dramaful moments. And then I'm on a Zoom like 2 hours later, and the topic happens to be bait. And it was like a message from the heavens. I was like, oh, that's what that is. You know, I didn't know the name for it. I didn't even know it was something I could resist. I didn't even know I had the option, Laura, to take the bait or not to take it. It was a revelation for me. It honestly was a revelation to go, hang on, I can choose to pick that up, or I can choose to put it aside. Wow. So cool.
So cool. And you passed with flying colors. I mean, yeah, it must have felt amazing to know that not only could you put it down or just choose to not pick it up, you had just done that before you even got on the call and found out what we call it, which is bait. So I love that story. So I just want to cheer, like, you made a touchdown. It's so good. It's so, all right.
Yeah.
So what other skills? So, I mean, I can see it must have been such a, like, it just sounds like a superpower that you were able to keep the peace that day, or like not contribute. It's kind of what you apologized to your 14-and-a-half-year-old for, right? Like, on that day, you didn't show up with your part of that dance. And so there was no really big scene. I hear there was some dramatic door slamming and things, but you didn't add any fuel to the fire.
Yeah. And, you know, it's so edgy in the beginning when, and I hear this from all the other women that I'm talking to in circle. This is so edgy to begin with when a woman first starts taking accountability. When I first started taking accountability, it's like my whole body was shaking. I'd have to work up this courage to give this Laura Doyle apology, or to just take ownership. And then it just got easier. The only way through it is to keep doing it. The only way for it to get easier is to keep showing up for yourself. And initially for me, I mean, in those first 3 weeks to a month when I read the book, was I have to restore respect in my marriage. For me, it was the biggest area that I could see where I was falling down. If I would reference the book and the kind of reactions I was getting from my husband, I'm like, I am not showing up as a respectful wife. So I started very simply with, when he would speak to me, I would just say, I hear you. I would duct tape rolls and rolls of that stuff. I had a realization after a month, man, I really take up a lot of space in our marriage. I have a running commentary for literally everything. Why do I do that? And that's probably the biggest gift that duct tape has given me, is that, well, metaphorically, I can see the visual image in my mind, right? So I can put it on in the moment. And then when I apply it, I'm allowing this space for my husband to fill, or my children to fill. And secondly, I can see my own thoughts for what they are, which is often just a lot of chit chat that doesn't need to be voiced out loud. It's a lot of needless emotional turmoil that's not going to serve any purpose other than to aggravate the person that I'm speaking to. So those were the two things that were just huge and simple.
Simple, but not always easy to implement, right? Putting on duct tape. And this visual of having rolls and rolls of duct tape over your mouth. I mean, did you ever feel like, what about my opinion? What about these thoughts that I'm having? Why can't I just say them? I should be able to say
Yeah.
whatever I want.
Yes, I did. I did have that. And I trusted your book and I trusted the podcast. That's what I had in my corner at that time. And I was just trusting that. Okay, I'm going to trust these other women have said they felt like that too. So I'm going to give it time. Like I said, 200%, I'm just going to try it this way. I'm not going to go rogue and try and make up my own rules. I'm going to follow the path that other women have forged for me.
Wow. Wow. And so it sounds like you learned a lot about Renee in that
Well,
quiet.
wow. Yeah. And the Laura Doyle apology was something that was just so terrifying for me. Just, you mean I have to say sorry? It's his job to say sorry to me. So it wasn't so bad. He's so gracious and forgiving. And that surprised me.
What do you remember a moment when you apologized and like how it went or what you said or?
Yeah, one of the early moments was my husband needed a barge book to go over to one of the islands. And he said to me, can you jump on and book me? He rang me from work. Can you jump on and book me this barge? So I'm on there and I'm looking at the times. And in my mind, I'm like, why would he be going over on that barge? Wouldn't he be better off to go on this barge? So I ring him back. And then mid-sentence, as I'm questioning the time, I went up and he said, what? And I said, I'm so sorry for being disrespectful. I'm trying to tell you what barge you would like to catch to go over. And I've just caught myself. And he goes, oh, that's okay. That's okay. And I said, actually, it's not okay. I'm not okay with it. I don't want to show up like that, Steve. These are the things I'm trying to catch myself with. And yeah, the more I did that, yeah, accountability, it's a magnet for attracting my husband back to me. That's for sure. He loves it. It's
Really?
a turn on for him.
It's a turn on.
It is.
You had to
Yeah.
rush home from off to that barge trip to be with you. Is that what happened? How did you know it was so magnetic to be accountable?
And just the ice started to thaw between us. I used to run a story about him, which was he's a very angry man. He's very angry. He's impatient. He doesn't care very much about me. All he cares about is work. All he cares about is work. That was huge. All he cares about is going to the gym. He cares more about hanging out with the kids than he does with me. It was always revolved around he rejects me all the time. And this was this relentless story I told myself. And of course, I could find banks and banks of evidence in that filing cabinet of resentment that backed up that story. And I was challenged by my coach to do a flip on that. And so I did. I did a flip on that. I flipped that around and my spouse-fulfilling prophecy became my husband loves and adores me and wants to spend quality time with me. And I honestly, within 2 weeks of that happening, I'm like, am I married to a different guy? And it's like, it's a miracle. This is here. I shifted my focus, Laura. It came off of everything he was doing wrong and off to everything he was doing right. You know, he may very well have been going for a workout in the morning, but before that workout, he would say, "Hey, I'm going for a workout at 9. Would you like to go for a walk before I go for that work? Or when I get back from the workout, would you like to have breakfast with me?" All of these offerings, all of these, this magnetism was coming. So it was kind of this simultaneous journey of, as I'm running this SFP and I'm looking for all the good stuff and I'm showing up accountable, I'm offering Laura Doyle apologies, sometimes 4 times a day, 5 times a day in the beginning, because I needed a lot of cleaning up, that he softened. The invitation started flowing towards me, and then I noticed as soon as I was disrespectful, is as quick as that tap would turn off. So I just started joining the dots, if that makes sense.
And you saw how you held the key, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So he started to be more, he was inviting you more. He was giving you, more attention and affection, it sounds like. Affection too? Or just
Yeah,
these invitations?
yeah,
Yeah? Okay.
yeah, yeah. No,
At the
affection,
same,
the pats on the butt in the kitchen. We used to love cooking in the kitchen together when we were young, and even right up when the kids were little. And then it just kind of became my job or his job, because he loves to cook too, but it was never our job anymore. Like the team, like I said, that teammanship kind of fell away. But here we are again, sort of, him saying, should we cook dinner tonight together? Or so these kind of things just started coming back in, this rejuvenation. And I wanted to say also that I, in terms of the verbal abuse, I don't agree or condone with my husband's choices for how he spoke to me. I don't agree with it at all. It's very hurtful, and it is appalling. It was appalling. It doesn't happen anymore. It was appalling. So I want to really make sure that women hear me when I say that I am not giving a green light to my husband to have treated me that way. It is not okay on any level for any woman to be treated like that. But what I've realized is that I cannot control what another human being does and how they show up. I can't actually control that. I only have control over myself and how I show up in any given moment. And when I realized that there was power there for me, I was off to the races. I was like, that's it. Now I've got this. I just have to worry about myself, how I'm showing up. And if I show up less than what I want to show up, because I'm a mere mortal woman and I know how to clean it up. I know what to do. You've shown me what to do. And so I just get on and do it.
okay. So I have so many questions about this, because I think you're right. Like, there's somebody listening right now saying he was verbally abusive. He shoved her. Like, she should have left. This is not okay. This is not acceptable. No, certainly no one deserves that. And you're saying that knowing how to show up when he did it empowered you, and then it stopped? Is that right?
It's stopped.
It's
It has been
stopped?
completely gone. Completely gone.
Completely gone.
He wouldn't even dream of speaking to me that way anymore.
What?
I am not, I know, I am married to the man that I was married to at the beginning. This soft and thoughtful and kind and gentle man. It's like when I was looking for the very worst in him, that's exactly the standard he lived up to. When I was being critical and looking for everything I didn't like and I didn't want, that's exactly where the bar was. He just kept doing more of that. And now I'm just so grateful. I'm so in love with him. There's this mutual respect. There's this adoration for each other. And I just feel it flowing back to me all the time. I got out of Pilates this morning and there was a missed call from him and he has to be back on the tools today because we have a guy away on holidays. And so I'm thinking it's for work. So I was like, morning, honey. He's like, hi. And I said, what can I do for you? And he's like, well, I was just ringing up to wish you all the best and just be yourself. Just, you're so amazing. And I was just like, oh, is that all you were ringing me for? And he goes, yeah, why wouldn't I? And I was just like, oh. And so I asked him, I said, how do you find our marriage now? And he's like, it's like when we met. It's peaceful and it's calm and it's loving and yeah.
Wow. Renee,
So it is a miracle.
Miracle. A miracle. It's a miracle. So, and that is what you do when you're first dating, when you're first married, when you're in love. You call to just say, "Have a great day. I wanted to hear your voice," and that's what he called to say to you. It must feel so good. So that the couple that was on the cover of the book that looked intimate, this is the feeling you're having now. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm having that. My vision was too narrow. I was so focused on this narrative that I'd made up that I was missing so much. All this evidence of how my husband loves me, I just was missing it. You know, he would say to me, and I've heard other women on this podcast say it, he would say to me, I cannot make you happy. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Of course you can make me happy. But my standard was ridiculous. Yeah, you can make me happy if you do this at that time in the way I want and how I want it to happen. That is absolutely ridiculous. I look at myself now and I think, how was your husband supposed to succeed when you were treating him like that? How? It's an impossible mission.
Wow. So you have totally different perspectives.
Completely different. And just knowing how to express my desires now, my husband will jump like that. If he knows I will love something, he's like, what do you need? Where do you want? What's happening? What are we doing? What are we doing? You know, how do we get this to happen?
What should I put into the GPS? Right? What's your desire? So what's a story about a desire you expressed?
Well, I kind of had two little stories.
I want them both.
Okay. Well, one is a horrible warning story. And that is, I had been talking about owning a sports car for the longest time ever. So in early 20s, it was one of those like, when we get older and I've got money, blah, 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 I'm going to own a sports car. And my husband one day, when I was an unskilled woman, I want to make sure everybody hears that I was unskilled and I did not have the skills. And my husband one day said to me, go sit down on the couch. It was that Christmas time. He goes, I want you to sit down on the couch and I want you to close your eyes and I want you to have your hands out. And my whole family was there. So all my 4 kids, they're all grown up. They're all there watching. And he puts this bag, this big bag, clear bag on my lap. And I am freaking out. Control Renee is freaking out. I am like, what is he doing? Why do I have to close my eyes? I had no ability to receive, just no ability to receive at all. And I open my eyes and he has this bag of money that he has been saving up for years. And unskilled Renee says, what is this? Why on the bag it says, to my sweetheart for her sports car. And the first thing I say is, what is this? Why would you do that? Where's this money? I completely rejected my husband's gift. I didn't know how to receive. And my husband says, well, you do whatever you think with it, honey. You do whatever you think. And that breaks my heart that I did that to him, because he is the hardest working man. And yeah, I'm sad about that. And a good story.
Smile. He wanted to delight you.
He knew it was a childhood dream. He'd been saving for years to make that come true. And I can see at different times where I've blocked that, like we traveled around Australia when we were very young, and we used to say when we'd pull up at camps, we just traveled around with our 4-wheel drive and a tent, just a little tent, and our 2-year-old son at the time. And we would sit there at camp and we'd watch people roll in their caravans and their fancy setups. And we'd say, oh, one day when we, when we make it big, we're going to have a fancy caravan, and, that'll be us being grey nomads traveling around. And, you sort of forget. I forgot my dreams. I forgot to dream. I forgot to have visions because I was busy being a perfect mother, but not a perfect mother. So I've lost sight of those things. And sure enough, we have a beautiful caravan. My husband never forgot. I may have forgot, but my husband never forgot those dreams, ever. He has been driving towards that vision his whole working life. And yeah, so a couple of weekends ago, we went away in our van together, peacefully, Laura, lovingly walking to the beach and having these intimate conversations, and there was a full circle moment. And I know how to receive now. I know how to look at him and say, I'm so grateful for you. You are an outstanding husband. The way you've never forgotten this vision for us. I love you so much that you've given this to us to have fun and to play, and yeah.
He knows how to make you happy now.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. I love how diligently he kept track of your longtime desires. He never forgot. And he was thinking about it for 30 years, it sounds like. So pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving. So would you say that your husband has changed as a result of you becoming so skilled and so self-possessed and so, self-controlled, honoring your limits, being respectful? Has he changed?
Yes. My husband has changed, and he is the same man that he always was. He is the man that I married and fell in love with. And we got lost. And nobody ever showed me how to be a skilled woman. I didn't have a roadmap. I left home very young. I wasn't being mothered at 16. My parents divorced. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any legacy left for me to copy or model. And I can see where Stephen wasn't able to show up as his best either. I can see that now, that we weren't bringing the best out in each other. We co-created something together. And I see that. And I can't be responsible for him cleaning up his part of that creation, but I can be responsible for my part. And in the doing of that, in the doing of my part, it has called him up to clean up his part. And I think that's what's happened, because he hasn't signed up to any training. He hasn't gone to any workshops. He hasn't gone to a therapist, and he's not working independently outside of the marriage. Yet the changes have been phenomenal.
Incredible. I mean, I give you all the credit for that, for creating an environment with such emotional safety that he, and for expecting the best from him.
I do expect the best. Yeah.
And you're getting
And
it.
if he has a hard day now, or he has something and he's frustrated, I just don't take that personally now, because I know how to stay on my own paper. I just see that he's got something going on. And before, I would just make that about me. If he had something going on and he was expressing, and he's big when he expresses, I would
Sure.
say, why are you speaking like that? Well, don't talk to me like that. I would make it about me. That's what I would do. But now I just look and I listen and I go, in my mind, I say, he's got something going on. And I just give him space. And then he will tell me and be vulnerable and say, this thing happened. And then I can apply the skills and say, oh, I hear you. That really sucks. That sounds so hard. I can just listen.
And you don't have to advise him or agree or disagree. You're just listening. What a gift. Has he ever said, Renee, this is amazing what you've done, or what did you do? Or has he ever acknowledged you?
Yes. We were away at the beginning of this year on a little retreat for our wedding anniversary. And he said, I don't really know what you've done, but whatever you've done, please keep doing it. And I said, well, I'm so glad that you see something. And he said, I am so in love with you right now. And he said, I've never felt so safe. And we both cried. Actually, we were both just crying, and actually that moment opened up an opportunity for me to offer that big Laura Doyle apology, the real big one, where I could really lean in and say, I'm so sorry. I see where I would disrespect your parenting. I would try to come in over the top of you. I can see where I was disrespectful here. I can see where I was disrespectful there. And I was able to, and even when he said, you don't have to say sorry anymore. And I'm like, oh, but I do. I really do. Yeah.
You like apologize.
Oh, I do now. I'm not scared of it anymore. Whether even with my kids, anybody, women, it just, you talked about a key before. And for me, that is a key for me to access my vulnerability. So when I am holding back on cleaning something up, usually is an indication for me that I'm in my stubbornness or my righteousness about something. And if I can just get those words out, then I'm there, then I'm in my vulnerability, which is where I need to be. That's where I need to be for right relating.
Wow. You've apologized to your kids?
Oh, yeah, plenty of
Tell me about
times.
that. Do you have a story about apologizing to them? To one of your children?
Yeah. So I've got well, he was 25 then. He's older now, but he was 25 and he lives in a granny flat out the back and he has a microwave and I don't have a microwave and I needed to defrost. No, I needed to heat a wheat pack up. I needed to heat up a wheat pack. And I was like, I can't wait for the oven. I'll go down there. And I'm in there using it. Now I know that this particular son does not like his stuff touched. And I'm in there and his containers were messy. And my brain is saying, don't touch the containers. But my hands, Laura, my hands were quicker than my brain. I tied him up in like 30 seconds flat. And I came out. And later on that day, he's back from work. He comes straight into me. Did you touch stuff in my container? And so still wasn't 100% skilled. I'm still learning, but I knew enough. And I'm like, yes, I did. And he said, I'm just needing to use the microwave. I'm trying to get out of it. This covertness, but I was just using the microwave. Did you touch my stuff, Mum? Yep. Okay. I touched your stuff. And he said, you can use my microwave. I don't have a problem with you using my microwave. Please just don't touch my stuff. I said, okay, whatever. And he leaves straight away. I'm like, Renee, what are you doing? You know better. So I'm very sorry. I was disrespectful when I touched your stuff in your container. He writes back, Mum, I am sorry for speaking to you the way that I did. That wasn't okay either. I have that so often where this apology begets an apology. It's like this, somebody has to go first. And I can really see now that in conflict, if I'm in conflict, there's two parts. So instead of pointing to the other person's part, how about I just clean up my part? And I'll see what happens with the other part. I don't know. I've got no expectations, but I'll just see.
Yeah. And so it's the coolest feeling to get that apology back, I'm sure. And it sounds like, yeah, that created some nice intimacy with your son.
Yeah,
Sounds like,
yeah,
yeah.
totally. And my daughter is 16. The other day, she had asked my opinion about something in the car. And then I got a little bit of attitude back. And I was like, well, I don't think I deserve that attitude. I had this righteousness in my voice, came up to the house, and my daughter went first. Mum, I'm sorry. I was disrespectful when I was rude in the car. And the reverse happened. I say, yeah, that's so unlike you, because it is. I said, that's unlike you. Was I somewhere in that? Was I? And she said, I think I was saying something and you cut me off. I said, you're right. I did. I'm sorry. I was disrespectful when I cut you off. I don't want to show up like that either. I would love you to be able to get out what you're thinking. And she said, thanks, Mum. And we just hug and everything's right with the world.
Is this the same daughter that was 14 and a half?
Yes. Yes.
That's that
Yeah.
daughter. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mm.
So she's seeing a different modeling for what marriage and love looks like.
Yeah. She's the reason that have stuck in the way I have. she's watching me like a hawk, you know. How are you? I've got three sons, you know, three men, young men in the home, out and about, you know, and we've got the masculine everywhere. How is my daughter learning to relate to the masculine? That's the question I ask myself every day. What am I showing her right now? How am I showing my daughter the right way to relate to the masculine? I cannot afford to do a repeat and have my daughter be in a situation one day when she's married, if that's what she chooses, and she's that version of me. That would be foolish. I have to lead the way and show her. And these skills, they're a verb. They're a doing thing. These skills are not to be not practiced. You can't have the knowledge of these and expect to see change. These are skills to be worked and to be used. And so that's what I have to do in front of my daughter, is to show her consistently, daily, interaction to interaction, the best possible way to show up.
Is that, I mean, it's a burden in a way. There's a responsibility there that you want to give her this legacy. Is that right?
I don't feel burdened at all. I
You
feel the
don't.
freest I've ever felt in my life. I feel empowered, free, light. Yeah, I've gone from a woman who could not regulate herself very well. I would always be in some level of needless emotional turmoil. That's not my life anymore. It's not my story. It's not who I am. I am not that person. I'm a dignified woman. Mm.
And it comes from within. This is not you just putting on dignity while there's
Yeah.
turmoil underneath. This is not you holding it back while it's right on the
No.
edge or flowing.
Yeah. No.
This is you
It,
feeling
yeah.
calm.
Yeah. It's an inside job. That peace, just that peace. Yeah.
So, what is your marriage like now?
Uh, it's delicious and intimate and calm and adventurous and wild and fun. It's like when we were dating. It's just like that, except we have a lot more wisdom under our belts and a lot more money to play and have fun, which is a great thing. We don't have to be right back at the beginning and be poor and broke. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. You know, we have a game plan now for retirement, and we're just both excited. We have our older two sons are in beautiful relationships, and I just am dreaming about the future and what that will look like in our home. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds
Mhm.
amazing. It sounds wonderful. And
Mm.
and how do you think this has impacted your children? I know you have three, yeah, they're mostly grown. Your daughter's 16, your youngest,
Yeah.
right? But how do you
Yeah.
think?
And my youngest son is 21, and then, yeah. So my sons are older than that. Um, yeah, they see the difference. I mean, my 21-year-old just said to me one day, "What what is it that you're actually doing? You're really different." And that's in a great way. And yeah, I'm close to all of them. I'm going out on a date with my eldest son tonight. He moves out next week with his partner. And yeah, I was like, "Hey, you want to go and have a hang before you move out?" And he's like, "Absolutely." It's just what they talk about, this, you know, having a friendship with your children when they get older. And that's where I've landed with my older three sons, is this really great friendship. And even if there's times, like my youngest son bought a motorbike a year and a half ago, that filled me with fear. It was a very fast motorbike. And I just got to work with those SFPs, sun-fulfilling prophecy for him, about how he shows up when he rides. And I've just got skills now, right, that I can be an observer of my children's lives, my adult children's lives. I can be observant and just, I'm here. If they need me, I am here. However much or however little they want me to be involved, I'm here.
Renee, you sound like the perfect mother.
Oh, well, when I'm not the perfect mother, I know how to fix that. I've got the tool for that one. So no.
I mean, it does sound dreamy. That's what I meant. Like, it sounds great. Like you're friends with them. You're there if they need you, but you're not interfering. You're not letting this fear of his motorbike overtake you and become a barrier between you.
Yes,
So
that's right.
I think it's what we'd all wish for our mothers to be, for our own mothers to be, or the kind of relationship that I think most people want to have with their grown children.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exciting. So much exciting stuff to come now, when you're watching your kids raise their kids, and to know where my rightful place is so that I'm not controlling or interfering, and to know that my kids have got this. They're great human beings. And that feels really cool to be in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. An observer. And I'm
Trusting.
excited now, not terrified about those things.
Yeah, amazing. So, what would you say to someone though who's where you were, which, like just on paper, you were being verbally abused? Um, you were. It was a tense household, not a an environment that was maybe scary for your daughter, and she's asking you, what do I do? How do I get to where you are, where he buys us, the caravan, so we can go off and have these adventures together, and where he's calling just to say, have a great day, and saying, hey, I'm going to the gym, but do you want to go for a walk, or should we have breakfast? And patting you on the butt, and you're cooking together, and sort of living all these things that I think we all dream about, and it's peaceful at your house. She says, well, I want what you have, Renee. What's your tip for her?
Mm. Firstly, I would say, I hear you. I see you, how painful that is, and to feel like there's no other way. But I'm living proof that you can turn the ship around. And I would tell her to be brave and to get your book, The Empowered Wife. And I would say, read it with an open mind and ask yourself, is there any truth in what you're reading? Is there any truth there for you where you could take accountability or ownership? And I'm not asking you to dismiss your husband's actions, or to give him a get out of jail free card. I'm just asking you to look at your side. Just look at your part. That's what I would say.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely worked for you. So that is the gold right there. And what would you say to Renee if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now? What would you say to her?
Yeah. I would say I would say the same, be brave. And I'd say to myself that I'm more than what I think I am, and that little trophy that you go to bed with every night, it'll be much more comfortable if you stick it on the shelf. That's what I would say.
That victim trophy, the I've been wronged trophy that you
Yeah.
used to. Yeah, it sounds like it was a familiar pastime to cling to that trophy, and it's not anymore.
No, no. Doesn't even It just doesn't even enter my head if there's any kind of uncomfortableness or ickiness or anything that in my system that I know is not supposed to be there. I'm like, right, how do I clean this up? Like, what do I, if I think about it, like you've just asked me to do, it's actually remarkable how, how comfortable that feels for me now. It's not I don't want to do this. It's like, how quickly can I do this? How quickly can I clean this up? Because this really feels like sitting on a tack right now, and it doesn't have to be that way. I don't have to live that way. I always have the choice of how I can live. Always. Mm.
So there's that little hump to get over, but
Yep.
you've gone over it so many times it doesn't feel like much anymore. And now you're like, let me at it. I can't wait. I want to clean it my side because I know what's going to be on the other end of
Yes,
that is some peace.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
how long has it been since your husband called you names? Would you say?
Oh, oh, maybe close to 10 months now. Mm. Yeah. So I found the skills 15 months ago, 14 to 15 months ago. Mm.
Yeah. So it took like 4 or
And
5 months to get that
so,
dialed in.
yeah, yes, yes. And that any woman that I've been coaching, when they want that immediate result, it's like, I hear you. I just keep directing back to my own paper of just, I really had to do the time. I had to do the time of consistently showing up in a safe way, in an accountable way. That was imperative to my mission with the skills I had to do the time. And to be honest, my nervous system needed that. My, that bait comes thick and fast when we've been married for so long. So we've been together for 34 years. So that's a long time to dance in a particular way. And I changed the steps without asking my husband. I just changed the dance. So it seems very natural that there would be a period of time where there's this awkwardness or the hump, like you said, to readjust. But I would say don't give up. Don't give up. You're just learning a new dance.
It's awesome. Well, Renee, I have a new trophy for you to replace your other one that you're not so fond of anymore. It's the Best Wife Award. You win. You win.
Oh my gosh.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Wow.
you richly deserve this award. You've transformed your whole family, it sounds
Mhm.
like, and you've made it peaceful in your home. Not just peaceful, but like loving, exciting, that exhilaration that you felt from when you were first falling in love is
Yeah.
back. And it's an incredible accomplishment. And not very many people do it. And you did it from a place of situation where many people would have said, you should leave, you should go. And you didn't do that. And it's just incredibly courageous. And I'm so delighted to celebrate with you all that you've accomplished.
Thanks, Laura. I'm so grateful to you for writing the book. I'm so grateful for you to have the courage to put it out there. And I just can't thank the Laura Doyle community and all of the coaches and the group coaching calls. And there was just so many soft places for me to land on those days where I felt like I had nothing. And that, the book just didn't seem enough, but I could jump onto a coaching call. I could get onto, a group coaching call. I could have individual coaching. I could speak to my fellow classmates there and have that real life conversation with another woman, which really did soothe me and let me know that I won't die. I will be okay. This is just a metamorphosis happening. And yeah, I'm so appreciative to you. Thank you.
And now you're one of us. You're a coach. You're Laura
Yay!
Doyle certified relationship coach, and you're
Yes.
standing for marriages and helping with those transformations too. And I just couldn't be more happy that we're on this journey together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you want all the tips, tricks, and traps about how to use a spouse-fulfilling prophecy in your situation, you can get that in my group coaching program. So for more on that, get my free Adored Wife Roadmap on the link below this video. Now, this takes some courage to do, but if you're feeling brave, you can do it tonight. So are you ready to try a spouse-fulfilling prophecy? Okay, then go, go, go. For more of the proven secrets on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, check this out.